This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some important updates to share with you. With inflation on the rise, President Biden and other politicians got it wrong with inflation. I'm going to play a video clip before and after what they said about inflation. Could something have been done? And should there be stimulus checks due to inflation to help compensate Americans get through these tough times? I'll also let you know about the new $1,000 stimulus checks that are going out, plus the $2,400 Social Security boost, what Bernie Sanders says about that, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Thursday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below, and I'm giving $200 out to my subscribers in a few days. I have details of how you could look up how to do so down in the description below. First, the new legislation aims to give seniors $2,400 a year. So this is that Social Security boost that would increase the monthly pay by $200 per month. This is led by Bernie Sanders. It was promised by President Biden. Is it going to happen? That's the big question. We're going to see as we get closer to midterm elections. I think we're going to start to see student loan forgiveness, increased Social Security, potential stimulus checks, as well as a few other promises that were made. First up, here is Bernie Sanders with the debate with Lindsey Graham, a clip that Bernie Sanders just released. Check this out.
It's interesting to hear Senator Graham speaks because other than the partisan rhetoric, what you don't hear him talking about are, in fact, the most important issues facing this country. That's what the establishment does. And Lindsey is a very good and effective representative of the establishment. Does Lindsey have a concern that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people? That some 60,000 people a year die because they don't get to a doctor on time? I didn't hear much about that in that opening statement. Lindsey care that we have the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs and that the pharmaceutical industry right now has 1,500 paid lobbyists in Washington, D.C. to make sure that in some cases we pay 10 times more for the medicine that we need? Did Lindsey talk about the fact that we have in South Carolina and all over this country tens of millions of workers working for starvation wages? Did he talk about a corrupt political system in which billionaires today can start a super PAC? And I guess you have some familiarity with super PACs. They help fund your campaign. Who can spend unlimited amounts of money to elect candidates. You have the absurd situation where super PACs frequently spend more money than the candidates themselves. I didn't hear Lindsey talk about the crisis of climate change or the reality that scientists are telling us. It's not Bernie Sanders, Lindsey. This is what the best scientists in the world are telling us. We don't get our act together. The planet we're going to be leaving our kids and future generations will be becoming increasingly uninhabitable. We're talking about great cities like Charleston, South Carolina. You're aware of that. Neighborhoods flooding. There are people who are thinking that not only Charleston, but Miami, New York City will be half underwater by the end of the century. You got to talk about that. You got to talk about income and wealth inequality. Do you have a concern that two people own more wealth than the bottom 42%? Do you have a concern in terms of corporate concentration of ownership? You got 3 Wall Street firms now, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, who control $20 trillion in assets. They control hundreds and hundreds of corporations throughout this country. Bottom line is we are moving toward oligarchy. And if we don't stand up and say that we need a government that represents working people and the middle class, I worry very much about the future of this country, and I hope you'll speak to some of those issues.
Do you agree or disagree with Bernie Sanders? Should more be done for the American people? In the past, Bernie Sanders presses Joe Biden on $2,000 stimulus checks, saying promises must be kept. Promises must be kept about a lot of things. Do you think Bernie Sanders should push again for the $2,000 stimulus checks? Should it be higher? Should it be lower? Should Americans get stimulus checks due to inflation, the rising costs, especially for Social Security, SSI, SSDI, low income, fixed income, those who are struggling the most? Should there be more checks going out? Let me know your opinions on that. When it comes to inflation, so U.S. inflation rate is in the middle of the pack globally. So The other day, President Biden said that the U.S. is the worst with inflation, or has the highest inflation. If we look at this chart right here with a few other different countries, so you could see the U.K. is higher than the U.S., and then the U.S. is right below that. India is pretty high, and then Japan and China pretty low. Take a look at this video clip right here from the Republican perspective on inflation and what could be done about that. Then I'm going to give you, show you another 40 countries and let you know the truth about inflation.
More falsities from President Biden yesterday, falsely claiming that inflation worldwide is worse than it is in the United States. In fact, that's just not true. A Fox Business fact check shows our 8.6% May inflation rate is higher than it is in countries such as Japan, Germany, France, all developed economies. Similar situation the other day when he said that we're the fastest growing in the world. We are actually in a contraction right now. Joining me right now is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. He's a member of the Homeland Security, Foreign Relations, and Budget Committees. Senator, you say you've been warning about the risk of stagflation for over a year. You certainly have been pushing back on all of the spending. Do you think that the COVID relief package that Biden signed into law and the other spending over the last year is the reason for this 40-year high inflation?
I don't think there's any doubt that that is exactly what's causing the inflation. Inflation is pretty easy to define. It's too many dollars chasing too few goods. And I always talk about the triple whammy. You have President Biden declaring a war on fossil fuels, drives up gasoline prices to record levels, high energy prices. Then you print all these dollars, trillions of dollars, and you spend those dollars, making it possible for people not to enter the workforce and sit on the sidelines, so manufacturers can't fill out shifts, they can't meet demand for the goods. So you have way too many dollars chasing even fewer goods, and you have high energy prices and record gas prices. So it's, it's obvious what's causing this. And I have been warning about stagflation for well over a year when Democrats passed their $1.9 trillion partisan COVID relief package, when we had $1 trillion left unspent from the previous packages, which a couple of those I voted against as well because I was concerned about the inflationary impact of those as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the inflation timeline right now, and it's obvious, very obvious to anybody who watches, that inflation was at 1.4% in January. And on that first day in office, that after inauguration, the first thing he did was cancel the XL pipeline. So that was one of the most important movers in terms of sending oil prices higher. Do you think he is unaware that he's saying things that are just, in fact, not true? Is someone writing the script that is setting him up for this? I mean, you can't say that we're the fastest growing economy in the world after we just saw a contraction. You can't say that our inflation is, better than everybody else in the world. We just have to look it up. These are things that you can check.
He may be delusional. He's obviously showing the signs of age, and that's sad. He lied about not ever talking to Hunter about his overseas business deals, but I think the bigger lie is he claimed to be a moderate. He's not a moderate. He's governing as a radical leftist. He promised to fundamentally transform America, and we're now seeing what that means. Open borders, 40-year high inflation, record gasoline prices, rising crime. We don't have baby formula. They're fundamentally destroying this nation. And it's because of their radical left policies. These things didn't just happen. This isn't just bad luck on his watch. He caused all of these crises. He and his colleagues, his enablers in Congress. These individuals are radical leftists. They need to be stopped.
What do you think about what was said there? Do you agree, disagree? Seems like inflation is just causing a lot of problems. But back to the point of whether inflation, or President Biden's mention of how the U.S. is highest in the world, let's talk about global inflation really quick. Just a little fact check. So in the U.S. and around the world, inflation is high and getting higher. So if we look at another graph right here, I'll make this a little bigger for you. So you could see these are 40 different countries in the first quarter of 2022. So just a couple of months ago. And you could see the black is the highest inflation, with Turkey at 54%. And you could see the U.S. not the darkest. So the lightest is the low inflation inflation, darkest is the worst inflation. The US, not the highest. Looks like Russia having a really tough time there. And then also this is Brazil over here. And then there are some European countries not doing so well. So in terms of global inflation, US is not the worst. It's not the best. It's somewhere in the middle there, or probably more towards the higher end for sure. So that's a fact check there. And then stimulus update. Will we get another round of money to battle inflation? There's a lot of people pushing for more checks, more rather than just the state stimulus checks. People want a federal stimulus check, something that will help them pay for their groceries, pay for their gas, pay for living expenses in general, medication. Fixed income and low income is just too hard for a lot of people, and they're struggling a lot. So in terms of will we get another one, politicians are working on it. At this point, we're starting to just see state stimulus checks like this one, cashing in 3 direct payments worth up to $1,000 that millions of Americans can claim right now. So on a state level, Colorado giving up to $1,000. So originally it was $400 for singles, $800 for couples. Now it's $500 for singles, $1,000 for couples. And then in Chicago, Illinois, $150 checks for transit. And then in Connecticut, $250 child tax credits, up to $750 if you have 3 kids. So we're seeing it on a state level, but not yet on a federal level. And when it comes to how the Fed and Biden got the administration got inflation wrong, take a look at this video clip showing the before and after, what these politicians have said about inflation and how wrong they were.
Our experts believe, and the data shows, that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way. No serious economist. I want every American to know that I'm taking inflation very seriously, and it's my top domestic priority.
Is there a risk of inflation? I think there's a small risk, and I think it's manageable. I believe it's transitory, but I don't mean to suggest that these pressures will disappear in the next month or two. I think I was wrong then about the path that inflation would take.
I really do not expect that we'll be in a situation where inflation rises to troubling levels.
Inflation is likely to take longer to return to our price stability goal than previously expected.
We believe it's temporary. I'm hopeful with a little bit of time, with the investments that Congress has to make in workforce, in manufacturing, in infrastructure, we will be able to keep a lid on inflation. So clearly we are, and Americans are, struggling with inflation. I still think we will get inflation under control. We just have to stick with it and see it through.
There's lots of independent experts that make predictions. Most believe that inflation will moderate next year.
Identifying and fighting inflation as the top economic priority for the country right now.
The kind of overheating scenario, which is much more of a spiraling story, we don't see the latter. We think the probability of it is quite low. Head down, continue to do all we can to fight inflation. The fact that we have a highly competent group here working to do this is extremely different than just trying to spin things and say who got right what at what time.
What are your thoughts on that? It doesn't get any more clear-cut than that. Video proof. Can't even lie about not saying that they were wrong about that. I think Janet Yellen is the only one, the Treasury Secretary, the only one who admitted that she was wrong. No other politician has admitted that yet, including President Biden. Or maybe to some degree. But let me know your thoughts on that. Should there be more accountability? Should there be compensation to the American people for the mistakes that these important people have made? Let me know your thoughts on that. That is all the news that I have for you today. To hopefully brighten your day a bit, here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
So today, I wanted to tell you one thing that you should know. You have to learn. If you don't learn, then you won't be a better person or grow up or anything. So you have to learn by experiences. That was all I wanted to tell you. Be safe, be good, and I'll see you in the next tip of the day.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget about the $200 checks. Details of how you could get that down in the description below. Pick in the winners in a few days from now. And if you want to check out any of my other videos on my other channels, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.